Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. And we're here, we're with Outsiders. We've got a beautiful new pack to open here. So, what we are doing, what we've decided to do here is not switch up the content because we have done limited content in the past, but ramp up our limited content for Outrising. Outrising. It's like Uprising.
Outsiders. Yeah.
Outrighting Siders.
Mhm.
Um, I am joined by my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-compatriot, not necessarily in that order. We got Rob on the bottom, and my name is Eric, and we're going to be on sealed duty. So we are recording this on the Sunday of pre-release weekend. So I have done 2 sealeds. Rob has done 0 sealeds. He could have done 1, but he decided to do 0. So this is going to be Eric content at the moment. So
Yep.
I ended up I could talk about like how the sealed went and all of that after the pool. We're
For
really
sure.
we're
Yeah.
really trying to push this content out for sealed skirmishes
Yeah. But this
because
is.
skirmish season.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was
Uh,
I was going to mention that this is footage from your sealed event here that we're
yes,
watching
yes,
on
yes,
stream.
yes, yes, yes. This is the footage. So we're gonna be showing off a video of the pack opening for the my first pre-release event. So the morning one I did. The afternoon one is a little bit awkward to record the video of that, but we do have pictures of all the pools and everything like that. So we're going to go over the pools, what I ended up running, why, and then a little bit about the sealed formats and what I think people are going to be gravitating towards, especially for your upcoming skirmish if they are limited. So we're going to have
Hmm.
2 of these videos that cover all the pre-releases with sealed pool, and we might be doing a bit of a collab with another very well-known player in my local community. So stay tuned for that if it does may or may not happen closer to that time. And with that, we could start it off here.
Yeah.
So we got the beautiful Spark of Genius mat, nice 60 FPS, 1080p
Yeah.
for
That is
everyone's viewing
that is
pleasure.
crisp.
It's pretty
I
crisp,
see your
isn't it? So
skin
we
cells.
got yeah. Let's not talk about those. But we've got me checking for any cold foils, obviously. So I'm gonna be
Hmm.
going like decently fast. Like this isn't draft. I'm not really
Yeah.
like prioritizing the picks here. This is the first time I've opened the product at this point, right? So I'm just checking it out. I'm living
Yeah.
life to the fullest, and I see
You got a
shakedown, and
shakedown.
I'm like, all right, I know what I'm getting. So if anyone's drafting this, that's my pack one pick one. Just FYI,
Yep.
shakedown. I'm just showing everyone very very good card. I'm putting it over here just in case I am drafting it, but
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah.
very good 2 for 6. So as we go in here, as a reminder, sealed is interesting because there's 6 heroes to choose from, and that's kind of what I wanted to keep at the back of my head when I was like opening these cards. Like which cards are more in line for either of the heroes in the class, and which ones were more specific to that hero. I see a blue Death Touch. I'm super
Hmm.
super happy with my assassin pool at the moment, specifically Azuri, because Death Touch, great card. Just I'm looking at it. You see, I put it there. That would be my pack one, pick one for that pack. It's
Hmm.
kind of
Okay.
why I'm putting it in the front in case anyone's curious. Death Touch super overperformed, but I already knew it was a great card. So I was definitely looking for as many of those as I could.
Yeah.
1 for 4, 1 for 5, or 1 for 6. Rare cycle.
Yep. So
Pack number
even the
3.
blues are really
Even the
good.
blues are
Yeah.
mid. It's a 1 for 4. It's a breakpoint already.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is this is the very first pack that I saw. I was like, hey, wait a minute.
Oh, foil.
Look at that. We got the full Yuki Lee Bender is right next to me, and I'm like, hey, isn't this your spoiler card? It is actually your spoiler
Nice.
card. And a Mask of Many Faces. Actually, in the draft, I would have picked up the Mask of Many Faces probably. Very, very good
Hmm.
armor piece. This isn't a draft video. I'm just letting anyone know. But Amplifying Arrow, kind of mediocre. I just really like the foiling on this set's beautiful,
Yeah. I
especially
was
that
gonna
particular
mention that.
card.
Yeah. It looks really good.
Beautiful foil in person. Going on to pack 4 here. I do like the red infect for assassin. Be Like Water is good for ninja. Seek Horizon's good to get a lot of your hand out. Um, and then this is, I think, yeah, 2 rares in this pack. Silken Ghee, Silken whatever. That would be
Hmm.
my pack one, pick one. Very good card. So it's the one where -1 power, but it costs 1 less on your attack. So very, very good. Like that's a very good, because usually your
Yep.
1 pitch doesn't necessarily equate to 1 power. Usually you're able to get 2 plus off of that. This I believe is pack 5, if I recall.
Might be 4 or
I think
5.
pack 5.
Yeah.
Might be 4 or 5. And we have
Oh,
flick knives, so I flicked it. You see how I flicked
you
that over there?
flicked
That
the
was my
card.
attempt to.
Mm,
There, by poking it here, so I'm flicking that over. So I
nice,
think we
nice
all know
pick.
what hero. I think we all know what hero I'm going to be playing in this this
Yeah.
limited pool. Flick dives, very good legendary, especially in a limited format, because the less
Mm,
life you have, the more impactful flinging for 1 and getting 1 armor off is, right?
right.
So Very, very
Absolutely.
good. In this case, Razor's Edge, extremely good. Red Razor's Edge. Wither, Red Short and Sharp, Virulent Touch.
Hmm.
My pool is looking fairly cracked. Um, so that's kind of the end of the pack opening. I will note that in sealed specifically, it's interesting to note that these packs come in 1 to 2 rares. So you're not always guaranteed your 2 rares. And it's very important to know because I did open some packs with 3 rares, and some with 1 rare. So like 2 rares and a foil rare, something like that. But you could also
Right.
just get 1 rare and a foil common. This is different. This hasn't happened before. I think Brian Gottlieb confirmed it on Twitter, that there's more variability added with the set.
Okay.
I don't know the draft impact of this yet. I wasn't able to actually get any drafts going, because the kits this time around didn't come with like a extra
Right.
box for draft top eight.
Right. Yeah.
But I wasn't able to like really figure this out in draft. I think for sealed it kind of nullifies the effect because you'll have some packs with high or low
It
counts
should
of rares.
average out across your 6 packs.
Yeah, it should. So I don't think I really felt the sting in draft. I don't know how that's going to play out. I think it's really going to depend. But in this particular case, if you are playing sealed for your pre-release, or I guess it's not pre-release anymore, but in general, or for skirmish, more importantly, it is something to note that don't be spooked if you only see 1 rare. It's not a typo. You just got only 1 rare. Okay, so this is the. I only have a picture of the deck I made. The pools for both Ranger and Ninja were kind of poor to regardless, and
Hmm.
they were never really a consideration because of like the death touches were just like I got 2 death touches, I got Shakedown, which is a Missouri specialization, so that was kind of like I'm running Shakedown. So it was
Yeah.
really no competition. And for this particular point, I only put out this assassin deck. So we're gonna check it out really quickly here. Cracked equipment, right? Flick knives, silken. I got two seekers in the right slots. I got the seeker's hood and the legs. So I'm running
Hmm.
4 equipment. And
Very nice.
I'm not gonna lie, this seeker's hood, seeker's legs came into play really, really well versus Benji. So I was against a Benji round one.
Hmm.
And of course the Benji unblockable stuff. Guess what? I could
Hmm.
pitch a yellow, use the seekers, and I'm preventing 2 damage.
Yep. Yep.
Unblock that. The key to Benji is make sure they don't go first. So whatever you could do, because if they can't go
Yep.
first and equalize the damage, they start at 17 health. Like you've
Hmm.
essentially done free damage, and you get starting tempo at the very beginning. I'm gonna use tempo very sporadically here, but no one's actually gonna know what I'm talking about. So just being able to really push the aggressiveness in your opening hand because you're going second. Now, I think there is something to be said that going Arachne versus Azuri in the assassin pool is a big consideration because Arachne does have that big ability to be able to go much wider on your average hand because your first stealth card does gain go again. Azuri is a better 1 to 2 card hand, right?
Right.
A big play that is very, very common in Azuri is you either arsenal a stealth, block with 3 cards, and your last card's a 2 for 6, 2 for 5, and you just stealth Azuri in a 2 for 5,
Hmm.
right? So your 1 card hand is essentially going to be that card, and you don't need to keep back a card to pitch. So if you need to block with 3 cards, you can. Whereas Arachne really wants to keep those more aggressive cards. You want to have like 2 cards to like dagger, dagger, stealth, go again, finisher, something like that, which you really do need your full card hands for.
Right.
Azuri not so much because she just doesn't have any latent go again by herself.
Yeah.
These stealth cards don't have, most of them don't have go again. I think a prowl, was it prowl? No, sorry, lunge. I think has the go again,
Hmm.
because it's kind of like brandish, but it's kind of like one of the only ways you can do it. So in this particular deck,
Right.
we do have a pretty nice density of reactions. So Razor's Edge red
Hmm.
coming in clutch, red short and sharp. I like to have at least 2. I think 2 to 5 is kind of where you want to be with reactions.
Okay.
Um, both of these are high quality because they're both red, right? 1 for 3 and a 0 for 3. And they both hit different things. They both have like their Venn diagram. Like they can both hit like a stealth 2 power. Like that's a 1 power or a 2 power. Both of these can buff that.
Hmm.
And then short and sharp can buff daggers also, and then Razor's Edge can buff all stealth. And that's kind of the
Right.
rest of it, the Venn diagram, right? So I liked my overlap with my reactions there. So I thought that was a good enough. I also have the blue Razor's Edge, but that's mainly a blue 0 cost, pitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, a
Hmm.
little bit light on the yellows, but like I'm not super concerned. You got backstab, virulent, sedate. cut down to size, very, very like overperform kind of card because it's just
Mm,
getting a card and leaking damage is good. Getting two cards for one is good. Or just getting pure damage and making them discard is like the ultimate disrespect when they do you just like put on a 0 for 1 stealth and you just they really
yeah.
want to keep their hand and they're aggro and you just cut down to size and take a card out of their hand. It's like the
Right.
maximum punish. Very, very good. It didn't happen. Usually people blocked with a card. I don't think people are nearly as greedy in this format compared to Uprising, where
Right.
they're very greedy on decks like Fi, where they just
Yeah.
keep all their cards and never block.
Yeah. It's
This
making it more
format's a lot.
interactive, I think, right? It's like
Yeah, this
it's
this
giving and
format is
taking.
it's a lot. That's funny. I actually got that card in the next pool, but that's I see what you did there. But it's a lot of my locals just called it fair flesh and blood. It's kind of like what they said after both of these. Well, you're back to
We're
welcome
back
to
to
Wraith.
Welcome to Wraith, yeah.
You're really just like there's no silly arcane shenanigans. There's no like there's a couple preventions here and there. Like the Seekers are fine. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Shakedown obviously good. I ended up going I XO'd 4-0 yeah left for
Yay.
knives, but um, honestly, you'd be surprised at some of the deck's resilience to the point where you also just need to play quite well. Like you really can't blow people out like you can on like Fi and Icelander and Dromai, like you can in
Mhm.
Uprising. You just like you're 2 for 8s and you're like you can like Dunebreaker to Emblem off or 13 off 3. Like you can't just you can't do that with this set. So you just need to play really well
Yeah.
back and forth. My hardest game here was against Yuki round 2. I think we were both 1-0. So this was round 2 and she was on Arachne, I believe.
Hmm.
And she had quite a good deck. And it ended up coming down to the Flick Knives,
Okay. Well, that
I
makes sense.
believe.
That's where it comes in clutch near the end there.
Yeah, mainly on that like reaction phase. So the Flick Knives is interesting because you can flick and you can
Mm.
essentially if you're scared of their reaction, right? You can flick in response to their reaction. So essentially, the flick resolves first. For defense reaction, flick resolves first, and then defense reaction resolves. It's the next defending card for flick to for like a nerf scalpel, right? But like for in this case, because you don't have nerf scalpels, not CC, that didn't really come into play. It was really just if you could flick for 1 dagger and block for 1, flick knives is worth 2 on board, right? And that's really all it came into play here. But it was still a very close game. I think I was at 1 or 2 life.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah. Yeah.
the pool still has to be really good. Shakedown is obviously shakedown. I thought it was super. I thought it was super cool when I hit with a dagger and then flick the second dagger and then I put in a card and then shakedown and they double blood rot trap me and I take 2 blood rot traps. That happened in another game. That happened in the finals where I got double blood rot trapped by Riptide and
Mm.
I took 2 blood rots and I thought I was such hot shit. So I'm like, I'm gonna dagger flick into shakedown and just blow him out. And he spike the spike trap, the
Yep.
majestic,
Yep.
and he blood rotted, and I ended up taking 5 damage because
Two
he
blood
flipped the card,
rots.
did one.
Did a one.
So blood rot for 2,
Mhm.
Riptide for 1 on that one,
Yep.
Riptide for another one on the spike, and then spike revealed 1 and I took 1 off that. So I
Oh,
took
right.
5 damage and did 0. So
Yeah.
that was a fun interaction we all loved. I
Pretty
ended up
good.
eventually winning because I had a bit of more of a health lead. But that was this deck in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Virulent Touch, very good card.
Any problems with fatigue with this deck?
No. In this particular build, I was running 11, 13, 17,
8,
20,
11.
24, 20. So I'm running like 37 cards in this deck.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
It's not I thought about running less, but all of these cards are actually quite useful.
Hmm.
Like there weren't that many like really bad cards. The Frailty Traps were sideboard cards, but they
Okay,
were in the
yeah.
pool. The Frailty Traps mainly coming in versus Assassin, because Frailty Assassin and Ninja. So I didn't
Right.
run it into Ranger,
Because the
but I
daggers.
ran them both. Yeah, so I was only running 35 into Ranger, and then 37 into the other two. So fatigue's not
Nice.
really an issue. I think this sealed format it's okay to run more than 30 cards because it's very likely your opponent might be trying to fatigue you, right? But it's
Hmm.
very hard to fatigue Ninja and Assassin because of your weapons.
Right.
Um,
It's true.
and that was pretty much it. So the name of the game was just blue death touches, shakedown, a lot of 0 for 3s, That's the main kind of idea here. But very very good pool for assassin in this one. Okay, so this was the second sealed. I am a lot more tired this time around. There's been a
Mhm.
lot of time between now and then.
How much time did you
This is
have between these events? Was there any downtime?
yeah, a couple hours, but we had to drive further out. The first pre-release was quite far for about 40-minute one-way drive through
Okay.
like highway driving and such. So it was
Yeah.
a little bit further out.
Okay.
And then we went back to a store closer to us.
Nice.
I say us, it's me and Yuki were the ones driving to these places.
Hmm.
Um, and this pool was more interesting. So there were 24 people, so it was gonna be a 5 round versus a 4 round. And the pool was interesting. I do have pictures of the different pools as far as the decks I could have constructed with the pools, just to give there wasn't any obvious choice, and like I'll tell you like kind of what happened at the end here. But the first one and the one that I immediately disregarded was this one.
Okay.
This is the Ranger pool.
Two
You
red
can see
infecting shots though. It's pretty top
I,
notch.
I knew you were gonna say that. And you know what this pool doesn't have?
What?
Any buffs.
Buffs? Okay. Yeah.
There was one lone scout the periphery just chilling in the red aisle
No,
there.
yeah, I see that. Yeah.
And you've got a yellow come to fight and a blue come to fight. And let me tell you something
Not the
about
best
Ranger.
buffs. Yeah.
If you are actively choosing a class without a weapon, you better have enough damage to win the game before they fatigue you, right?
Yeah.
And as much as I wanted to run these beautiful red infecting shots, not great.
Yeah.
My majestic was good, give and take, as you kind of alluded to. I didn't know how
Yeah.
you knew I had give and take, but
No,
give and take
that was a
very
guess. Yeah.
give and take very good card, especially in limited, and I think it's also good in CC in various decks. Like Dromai is kind of like the big one I'm thinking about,
Here it is.
but
Yeah.
yeah, there it is there. But very good in limited because not only is it just like a 1 for 3 go again 3 block, which is reasonable,
Hmm.
but the fact that you get to get um any card, any 2 power or less back to the top of your deck,
Hmm.
very good for anti-fatigue.
Yeah.
Very, very good card. And that triggers multiple times. So if they block with 2 cards, so if you were able to Spider Spite before this, and they want to actually block the damage, and they block with 2 cards, you get 2 cards to the top of your deck.
Yeah.
That's ludicrous. Like I think this is actually like a very underrated card in limited, and it really was good. Just for like even go again, it blocks 3. It just kind of does everything you want to do.
Yeah.
Very much enjoyed using this card, but as you see, the rest of the pool just not much of a
So
Ranger.
Ranger
Pool.
wasn't the play here.
Ranger did not lead the way in this one. So let's move on to the Ninja pool. All right, so moving on to the Ninja pool. This one I was strongly considering either Benji or mainly Katsu, but also Benji. So if you look to the top left, we're chilling here. We got Red Surging, Gust Wave,
You
Red
got the whole
Bonds.
line in red there, looking very nice.
I pulled a yellow Gust Wave, a yellow Bonds. Like we've got things and stuff,
Yeah.
you know. The Twin Twisters is a nice 1 for 4 go again. The Deadly Duo 1 for 3 go again that can buff like one of my yellows. Like I have like a couple good yellow targets that come in for like the 1-2 punch and the Deadly Duo. They come in for 2. Even the Bonds comes in for 3. I think the Gust Wave, yeah, the yellow Gust Wave comes in for 2. So you have a lot of good targets for the Deadly Duo. Very good attack reactions. I have 3 short and sharp, a red, a yellow, and a blue. Very, very strong, especially with Benji, right? Because of the 2 or less base. So like the unblockable, essentially, unless they have a D-react or a damage prevention spell, you're getting all that damage across. You know what I mean? Like the thing is, there's not in sealed pools, you can't really focus on getting traps. So you're unlikely to face a deck with just a bunch of traps.
Right.
So and that's like that's the D-react. Like there are no D-reacts. That's the D-reacts of the set, right?
True.
Other than that, it's just damage prevention, like Brush Off and Peace of Mind and cards like that, right? So that was also good. We have some pretty good aggressive generics. Red Seek Horizon, the give and take's quite good. Looking for a scrap, very, very good card, especially with a couple nice target 4 or 5 blue 1 power targets. Pretty good in Benji, pretty good in Katsu. The yellows were pretty reasonable, like yellow come to fight. You'll see the 2 yellow Rabbles probably not going to be in every build. Like it's probably more of a Katsu card versus a Benji card.
Yeah, because at best the 0 for 3 go again, right? So it's
exactly like
you're gonna whiff probably more times than not.
Yeah, not an amazing card in Benji, but pretty good in Katsu. Like it's still get you can still get to extend your hand. It is a zero cost. You can banish it to Katsu. The yellow one pays for both of your Kodachis.
Hmm.
It could be it could be worse, right? So the blues were pretty weak. You'll see that I had to add some very like I had to add infectious host to get to the 10 blues. I don't think you want less than 10 blues in general for Katsu because you're gonna want to have to pay for your daggers. Now Kodachi's only cost one versus the two for assassin, but like you're gonna want more of those zero costs, and you might use some of them for Katsu.
Yeah,
You're gonna want at least 10.
it's
So I
very
had
much
to
the
add some
same strategy
questionable
for
blues.
Welcome to Wraith. Like the blue
Yeah,
zero costs are your friends in this deck.
exactly. So I saw a lot of merit to Katsu. I had Mask of Many Faces, very good Katsu card, right?
Mm,
So I essentially get access to two surging
right.
or
Can cheat it out.
because that's the one. Yeah, that's the one I only have one of. So that's probably what I cheat out the most here. But pretty solid pool here. But the blues were a bit on the weak side. I do have like one Be Like Waters blue, which I don't really want to end up having to play, but
Hmm.
it is what it is. But it's a good pool. I think I end up with like 34, 35 cards, something like that, playing everything. I think I'm likely cutting some of these cards, like
Hmm.
Feisty Locals Yellow, definitely more of a Benji card.
Yeah.
Raven is probably more of a Katsu card. So it's like a little bit of both. There's like a red piece in mind in the bottom there. Again, more of a sideboard card, mainly for like Azalea and stuff like that. It's gonna like hit really hard, possibly Azuri. But I was close to picking Ninja, but I felt like I was a couple Ninja cards short of actually being able to push enough damage without just getting fatigued.
Yeah.
Um, so I ended up not going with Ninja. Yeah, and so now we're rolling on to the assassin pool here, and the assassin pool is generally going to have the biggest pool just because you're going to get most of the dual class cards. Because
Right.
assassin is like there are no ranger ninja
Ninja.
dual class. It's,
Yeah.
it's really just assassin is the denominator here,
It's
right?
the
So
middle
you're going to
ground
have
of all three of the
yeah,
classes. Yeah.
exactly. You're going to have more of those, and it was a bit interesting here. So we had equipment wise, we were definitely equipment poor. We really only had two usable cards and equipment, no matter what class we got, because unfortunately, we had a lot of duplicates in the slots. Like I don't think we had a single leg piece, period. For example, so we were definitely a little bit weaker on the equipment slot there. We got some duplicates too. Um, but we did have the tunic here, the threadbare tunic, and the toxic tips. The reds were quite strong. We did pull the red razor's edge, the red spike with blood rot. I mean, I think the spike with are all reds. I don't
Hmm.
think they come in cycles. I think they're all red.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so we have the red short and sharp. So we're going off quite a few. I think blue short and sharp and yellow short and sharp. So we're on five reactions here, right? Three of which were red. Very like that makes me want to play assassin immediately, right? So it's really just do I want to play Azuri or do I want to play Arachne, right? And so the key here was how many 2 for 4, 2 for 5, 2 for 6s do I have?
Hmm.
And how many stealth cards with go again do I realistically want to play? I was a little bit light on the stealth cards, the good ones. Like I had a couple. You guys see a frailty and a sedate.
Hmm.
I only
Right.
had two red 0 for 3 stealth cards. I only
Yeah.
had two. Malign doesn't really do much. Like damage can't be prevented. Yeah, we can't brush it
Yeah.
off, I guess. But I really want more of those red 0 for 3s with the go again to be able to spider's bite into one of those, and then you have two blocks, and then it actually poses that breakpoint
Hmm.
with attack actions, whereas the yellow just generally doesn't. And if you're Arachne, you can't just swap it in with something else. The Blood Rot Trap, very, very good against Azuri. So if you end up seeing the mirrors, especially in the top tables, that ended up happening quite a bit. So I got double Blood Rot Trap. I'll tell you about that in a second. A funny story there. The spring something, the one with the snake that's coming out of there, and if
Oh
you're
yeah.
attacking and you don't have a hand to +3,
Spring
you know
load.
the one I'm talking about. Spring Load, yeah. Spring Load Threadbare Tunic, harder than I thought to get off, but once you get it off, it feels beautiful. The main problem is you can't trigger the tunic when spring loads in your hands because you have a card in hand, so you
Right.
can't actually use the tunic.
So you gotta play it
Um,
first, then use the tunic.
no, no,
Oh
because you
no.
don't have the pitch for it.
Oh right. So
So
you
you
can't
have to
actually
get
pay for it. So you gotta
you have to get it from Arsenal. You got to get an
Okay.
arsenal.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get an arsenal. The other thing you can do is on Azuri, right? So you can play the stealth card, activate Azuri, uh, banish the card, and then Threadbare is tunic is you don't really need it anymore at that point, right? So you can just
Hmm.
run the spring load, and it just comes in for 5.
Okay.
That's the other way you can kind of get it off without having to arsenal it.
I see. Yeah.
Um, Arachne would still have to arsenal that Threadbare. I did get it off. It was able to successfully get that combo off, and it feels pretty good when it comes off.
Yeah.
My yellows are pretty good actually, specifically for Azuri because I have the 2 yellow Rabbles, which if I Azuri them in, they're 4 go against, right?
Right.
Like they're 0 for 4 go against off
True.
Azuri.
True.
Very good because Azuri doesn't have very many ways to extend the combat chain because she doesn't have a lot of go again cards, unlike Arachne has the 0 for whatever stealth go again, right?
Right.
Yellow come to fight. I did get a yellow death touch. Pretty happy about that. That would have gone in regardless. But death touch is much easier to play with Azuri because of Azuri's ability. So again, you can kind of get what I'm saying here. I'm definitely leaning towards Azuri just based on the cards I'm getting. Virulent touch. I have 3 in total, 2 yellows and a red. So looking more card that's much easier to get off of Azuri. What you want to do with these virulent touches, especially the yellow, is either get one in Arsenal, be able to block up and then play one, or when they block with a card off some like random stealth, you're still able to Azuri this thing in, and then you give them the Blood Rot because they've defended, right? And then that, depending later in the game, that Blood Rot, I did this against Yuki. I played her again in the second sealed pool. Like, super good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because having to think about doing what you're doing, and then maybe you don't have a blue. Like maybe you just maybe you blocked with your only blue, like
Yep.
or like you blocked with a blue and you needed the other blue for your hand. Very, very strong. So Virulent Touch definitely overperformed for this pool.
Nice.
The blues were fine. Nothing really to write home about. Blue stealth cards are always kind of nice because they more so for Azuri because they just threaten
Yeah.
anything. Um,
And you get them
and
back
I
later to
think
pitch
that
if you want to, right? Swap back onto your deck.
yeah,
It's like you're
exactly.
pitching them.
Yeah, yeah, and you see that I had a bunch of yellow stealth. Like I fought 6 yellow stealth cards, 6 yellow stealth cards, and I had sneak attack. Again, sneak attack is mainly it's a rare and is good for Azuri because you're able to Azuri out the sneak attack. You've done the attack reaction done. For Arachne, it's much harder. You have to play an actual attack reaction on something.
Okay,
Like you have
yeah.
to have the card. You can't just activate Azuri into anything.
Makes sense.
And get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for all of those reasons, I ended up on Azuri. I ended up X1, so I was the highest 4-1, so I came second, which was pretty good. Got a bunch of prize stuff. Got another gold full Azuri, all that kind of good stuff.
Nice. So you were 9-1 on the day?
I was 9-1 on the day. My hardest matches were against Yuki in both of the pools.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't
she's
expect
very
anything
good.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, her pool was quite good. Like she had the full. It was Azuri mirror in. It was the last round, so it was round. We were both X1 going into the last
So
round.
you guys just played Assassin all day.
Yeah, but she played both, and I just played Azuri.
Yeah.
Because I had Shakedown in the first pool. So that was very, very funny. That you see those Blood Rot traps. Remember when I mentioned them being good in the mirror?
2 red ones here. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my hands was blue card, double Blood Rot trap, and I was getting destroyed. Her pool was just better than mine. Like she hurled. She read hurl for 0 for 3, and then I was at low health. My hand was all attack actions. 2 of them block for 3, 2 of them block for 2. She hit with the first dagger, played hurl, hit me with the second dagger, so my shit was -2. So 2 of my cards just didn't block, and the other 2 blocked for 1. And then from the arsenal, she did what I just said. She threadbare tunicked into springload, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm doomed. I blocked for like 2.
Like 2 or
the
something.
point was I was on the back foot after that play for sure because
Right.
hurl is a hell of a card. I wish I had it. It is a rare for a reason. Very good card. That's the one where the additional cost you can pay 1 and throw your dagger. You can flick your dagger essentially.
Yep.
Now, and then on one of her big turns, she like came in with the wither to the Azuri, and then I double Blood Rot.
Yeah. That's really
But
it's so tough
it's
after
really
she's
rude.
played everything, right? It's like here's 4 free damage basically.
yeah, she was like, I took the dagger, and then she Azuri'd for like some 6 power,
Yeah.
and it was just like pretty
Just enough to
devastating,
cover it.
except blood rots,
Yeah.
blood rot traps. And then she took 4 off of it.
Yep.
So it got a lot closer. And then she had like a very unfortunate hand. I was able to claw back at 1 health
Nice. Oh,
and win that game.
that's so
It
tough. Did
was
she only hurled 1 dagger, right? So she still had 1? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It's pretty
exactly.
annoying
But
still.
that play was quite good. Her deck was just bad, and she had 4 pieces of equipment.
Wow.
So she had a lot more armor fencers and stuff. So her deck was better, I think, just that 1 4. She drew double red brush off red piece of mind, and I was coming in for 5. So she paid to take a damage. She paid like with 3 cards and still took damage, and that let me get tempo back, and I was able to keep it more or less because my hands were decent because I got a lot of shit hands out of the way. So that was this particular deck. I think that on the day when I thought about has this sealed format improved from Uprising? No.
No?
Unfortunately, no. I'd like to give them the benefit here. I've only played 2. I'm going to play 1 more on Monday. I'm going to see if that changes anything. I think people have already been pretty vocal about the fact that fatigue seems to be a bit of an issue with people just playing the pile. And by playing the pile, I mean they're easily playing 35 to 45 cards.
I see.
And
Yeah.
as you can see, this was my entire pool. I didn't necessarily play all these cards in the matchups, but
Right.
I could have. I could have played 42 cards in these matchups.
Yeah.
And playing 42 cards in Fair Flesh and Blood is kind of annoying because you're going to get draws and stuff like that. But I think I like the set design with the 6 heroes, and I think there are options. I think Ranger is still... first of all, I think Ninja is just underpowered and sealed. I do not think you have enough resources in sealed on average, unless your pool is busted, to actually compete with Assassin for that fatigue slot. And I think Ranger still has Ranger problems.
Riptide
Like you still need...
seems like a bit of an issue to me based on the number of traps you can find.
Yeah, like I got beat by my 1 loss was against the Riptide
Okay.
in my round 3. And he ran 42 cards into me.
Okay. Yeah, so that was
And
the typical Riptide game plan, I guess,
42
the fatigue
cards.
version. Yeah.
He had Pendulum Trap, so I like milled 2, and he had Collapsing Trap.
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah, he had
Nice.
a good pool. His pool was strong. Not to say he didn't play it well. He played it well. He was coming in for like 10 to 12 per turn on Riptide with buffs. So like he had a good Ranger pool. However, I would call that an above average Ranger pool, and he was 3rd at the end of the day. 1st and 2nd were 2 assassins, me being one of them. So even after beating me, you're not able to... Yeah, which kind of proves to my point where I still think you need a bit more oomph. Now, that being said, my first pool, when I had that crack pool, it was also Riptide in the finals. It was me and a Riptide in a different Riptide in the finals. I think Riptide has legs. I think Azalea still has the same issues.
Okay.
I think you need a lot of buffs. Like buffs are so premium, and in sealed there's just not that many. Like I think Ranger is still going to be Azalea specifically is still going to be better in draft.
Azalea really benefited from a lot of the Majestics that came out. I think not so much. Well, the arrows are good too, but you don't get the good buffs from this pool.
Yeah, but it's also to the point where, very simply put, Barbed Castaway is worse than Death Dealer.
Right.
And that's fine for Riptide. Riptide doesn't really care that much because his ability lets him arsenal put a card face down by playing a card. Like he can activate his ability to already stack. Azalea can't do that. Azalea actually needs to use Barbed Castaway,
load once,
get cards in the arsenal. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you got Crow's Nest to be able to like put an aim counter, but you have to Azalea it in there because it needs to be from your deck to your arsenal.
Precisely.
I think that's a lot of hoops for sealed, and I do not remember seeing a single Azalea in top tables for either of those pre-releases. Not because the pools were necessarily bad, but I think you need to be a good Azalea player. Like that deck is difficult to play in general in CC, let alone limited. Let alone an average pool. Like I think people in Skirmish should stay away from Azalea unless you really do think you have like the nuts pool, or you just want to have fun. Like if you want to have fun, play whatever you want to play. But if you really want to try to win, and your pool is average, play Assassin, because I think your pool will be the biggest. I think Ninja has some legs, but again, I still think you need a little bit more. I would say that on the top tables there was Riptide's the other one. Like I think Riptide's actually fairly viable. I think you could
Okay.
build a nice pile of Riptide cards because he just doesn't need as much to get going because of his hero ability, and
Yeah.
he's able to like ping you on traps, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. So if you can get some traps, I think Riptide's viable in sealed. But other than that, honestly, just play assassin. That's my like number one piece of it. Just play assassin if you want to like your best chance and your pile is an absolute ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I learned from these pre-releases. I'm gonna try not to play assassin if I can get a reasonable pool. But as you can see, my pools were like my ranger pools were just dog. My ninja
Yeah.
pool was almost good enough,
Yeah, that could have been
but
a thing of greatness there. Just get more of the gust waves, and you're okay.
honestly, I just needed like 2 or 3 more ninja cards, and I probably would have been on it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but I just wasn't feeling super confident with like a ton of assassins just trying to fatigue me out. I didn't think I can get there with like they're still on 20. They're not on unless you're playing Benji. They're gonna be on 20.
Right.
These assassins. Benji is a ninja, but you know what I mean. So I think that's kind of all I wanted to say. A little bit of a longer video. This is 2 sealed pools. It's not just like 1 sealed
Right.
pool here. So
Right.
that's kind of what I learned. Overperformers for the day that I didn't over. I already knew Death Touch was strong. I'm not gonna say it overperformed.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess Blood Rot
honestly,
Trap was quite good.
in
Give
the
and take.
sideboard, Blood Rot Chap OP against Azuri, honestly,
Yeah.
and just a zero block 3 from hand, still very good
It's
block
true.
3.
Yeah. It's
Um,
give and take.
I won two games off short and sharp. I won against Yuki in the
Mm.
finals, and I won against in my first pool. He did a respect give and take, and I won off that card off a
Mm.
dagger. So Razor Reflex, I mean give and take.
Yeah.
Best card in the format here. Attack reactions in general, I think overperformed. I didn't realize how good they would be. I thought they would be good, but they really did overperform.
Okay.
That's probably what I would say here.
Awesome.
And that's about it. If you like this content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If you did like this kind of sealed content, where I kind of go over this kind of situation,
Yep.
where you get the pools and see what you can kind of build, let us know. We'll do one more. We could possibly try to do more if there's a lot more interest, kind of thing. But this is mainly more because of Skirmish coming up, unless there's like sealed events. But with that, from wherever you're watching in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Bye for now.